Welcome back. Well, we'll turn our attention now to, well, yes, another matter, which has got to do with the presidential panel on SARS. We've got Mr. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on this morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
You know, this particular matter, initially there was a lot of frenzy when people thought that, oh, has the president approved state police? But eventually they cleared the air and said they need to set up a committee, work out the modalities before they come up with a white paper, and then we'll see what happens. But there are those who are not overtly optimistic about all of this. What is your perspective about what has transpired?
With respect, the short-lived celebration was quite funny. Talking very seriously, the president cannot, by fiat, approve state police. It is a constitutional matter. A bill has to go to the National Assembly, and the bill can originate from either of the two houses. And we have made this point repeatedly. For governors who are asking for state police, what to do? It's not to appeal to the president. It's to mobilize the National Assembly members to amend the Constitution. We've had about 4 alterations, 4 amendments of the Constitution. And this matter has never agitated the minds of our legislators with profound respect. So whether the president approves it or not, it has to go to the National Assembly. And of course, if the National Assembly endorses it, it has to have the concurrence of at least 2/3 majority of the houses of assembly in the country.
You know, the thing about that short-lived celebration, it really spoke volumes to a lot of people. People thought, look, this is what they think is the way to go. But the governors themselves can mobilize their members. But why do you think this is not happening?
Well, there is a history behind state police. When the 1979 Constitution was being put together, it was felt by all members of the ruling class, that we wouldn't need a state police, having regards to the experience of the First Republic because of the abuse. But since then, the Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by law, has been grossly abused. So that argument, is no longer there. What is therefore important is pending the establishment of state police, because it has become inevitable. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Council. And the Nigerian Police Council, as the president as the chair, the Inspector General of Police, the chairman of the Police Service Commission, and the 36 state governors. So you have a body in which the 36 state governors constitute the majority.
It's too complex.
But that body never meets. That body never meets. That body only meets because the Constitution, Section 216 of the Constitution says, the president cannot appoint or remove an Inspector General of Police without seeking the consent, the advice of the body. So, since 1999, a sitting president summons the meeting of the Nigerian Police Council when an Inspector General of Police, when the acting appointment is to be approved, not when an Inspector General of Police is going to be removed. So the point I'm making therefore is that this is the only body allowed by law to supervise the Nigerian police force. But that isn't taking place.
Does that mean that there is no compulsion by the law for that body to meet?
No, it is. There is a compulsion, but it doesn't meet. And I have appealed to our governor, requisition a meeting. Requisition a meeting or requisition meetings regularly so that you can discuss the security of the country.
Is this a function of politicizing or lack of will on the part of the governors?
No, you see, it's not about lack of... No, what I'm saying is this. This is a federal executive body, like other bodies created under Section 153 of the Constitution.
Let me
clearly define functions.
Let me reframe that question. I said, is it a function of politicizing, meaning that is it that the governors are trying to palliate the executive in the person of the president at the time, or they are not? They are more interested in that as opposed to the functions of governance, of securing their people?
No. I think the governors are more interested in the establishment of state police. But I'm saying, before the establishment of state police, you must use the available constitutional body to handle security in the country. After all, the president and the security service chiefs meet in the National Security, Defense and Security Council. The same way, the Nigerian Police Council must meet regularly. That is the stipulation of Section 159 of the Constitution.
But now that they're not meeting, it makes the situation
and that's why we're
even more complex.
Mess.
Yes, it makes it a mess actually. But the complexities of the processes you outline, can we ever meet them?
Of course. No. What do you mean? The Constitution has created a body. The membership is outlined. The functions are stipulated. But these functions are not being carried out. And that is why our governors have to take security very serious.
Who summons that meeting?
The secretariat in Abuja, of course, the presidency. So, and if the meeting is not summoned, you can requisition a meeting because you constitute the majority. But apart from that,
that means essentially then that the meeting is not scheduled. It has to be at the whim of somebody.
No, you don't have to schedule a meeting of, for instance, you have the Council of State, it meets, you have other bodies created by the Constitution, other bodies meet. Why is this one not meeting? No. If the secretariat, if the presidency does not call the meeting, the governors have a duty to requisition that meeting because of the importance of the body.
Because of that importance, the Federal Executive Council meets on a schedule and it is regular.
No, you see, if and when the secretariat or the president says summon the meeting, the Federal Executive Council meets, just like state cabinets all over the country. But where a meeting of a body is not called, you have a right. For instance, as a concerned member of the public, I have gone to court to compel the body to meet regularly and take care of our security. But apart from that, in 2003, the presidency, under President Olusegun Obasanjo's watch, sent a bill to the National Assembly for the establishment of the Nigerian Security, Civil Defense and Security, Council. That body was created to perform similar roles with the police. Nobody questioned that. Why are you having civil defense when we have the Nigerian police force? When there shall be only one police force? Apart from that, the federal government has also empowered other bodies like Federal Road Safety Corps, the Nigeria Customs Service, NDLA and others for the operatives to bear arms. But you say state government cannot have a body that can bear arms to defend people. I can't see. And for me, I think these are the areas the governors should have taken advantage of some of this development to make a strong case for state police or even local government police.
We're expecting the white paper. NHRC is also looking
at before the white paper.
What happens at the point when the white paper comes?
It's going to take 3 months for the white paper, to be put together. But apart from that, I am saying you don't have to wait for 3 months. We're having the National Assembly will be inaugurated next week. I expect that will be one of the first bills that will go to the National Assembly. How do we police our country? How do we police every local government in the country? I mean, for instance, you can apply to the Inspector General of Police for a license to bear arms as an individual, and it's allowed by law. What stops a governor from going to Abuja, Mr. Inspector General of Police, I will need licenses for 10,000 young men and women to police Lagos State, where you have 20 million people? I mean, why are we? I mean, we have the neighborhood watch.
How do you say that?
Why is the neighborhood watch not allowed to be armed? If as an individual, I can protect myself and my family by having a license to bear arms.
But isn't that a police force, a form of police force?
Of course, once I'm allowed to bear arms.
No, but that's an individual.
I'm a police force.
Isn't it different from a
No, it's not
group?
different. No. If you can allow an individual to protect himself and members of his family, why should a governor who has sworn an oath under Section 14 of the Constitution to defend the security and welfare of the people being governed by him or her, how can you say such a governor cannot ask for 10,000 licenses to buy arms for young people instead of one individual?
All right.
Do you understand my
We'll explore this a little further when we come back in just... Welcome back. You know, there are those who just wonder, if that were the case, if you could apply as an individual, yes, you can get your license. And then, but as a group of people, maybe they've not explored it. Maybe they think that it may be wrong that you apply and they give you a license, because they think that if a group of people were to apply and they give them a license, that will be tantamount to putting in place a force, like a group, like an army. And
when I have the license to bear arms as an individual, yeah, you have also created a force in my house. Oh yes. So why can a governor not protect 20 million people in Lagos?
But are they aware that
it's so contradictory?
Are they aware that they can do this?
I cannot speak for anybody, but I was saying I can recall an incident when we were having robbers, invading banks on the island, killing people and making away with a lot of money. The then governor of Lagos State, Mr. Raji Fashola, said, rushed to Abuja and got a license from President Jonathan to import equipment to deal with that problem. And it was given.
But that was for the police force.
Yes. But he also made it clear, this is not going to the general pool. It's for Lagos Police Command alone. And it was allowed.
But that's in order. But you are saying that, the president should give a governor the right to procure 10,000 licenses.
No. It's not. I'm not talking of the president now. It's not out of generosity. Okay, I am saying
so you should go to the
governor
IG.
Should be able to go to court to say, I haven't given license to Mr. Falana to bear arms. The refusal to give other people, 10,000 young men who are members of my security service. I don't want to use security service. The failure to give them licenses to bear arms is discriminatory.
But does the law permit that? Does the law permit a governor to go ask for 10,000 licenses?
Does the law? But the law permits an individual
to
ask for one.
An individual.
Oh yes.
How about the 10,000 people writing?
Trained. They will be trained by the police. They will be sent to the police college.
No, there's a difference.
Trained.
There's a difference because
to guide
an individual is different from an organization.
Exactly.
No, you see, I've heard President Buhari has commended the Lagos State government for setting up the neighborhood watch. But that neighborhood watch, the members have no arms. There is a limit to which they can go in terms of combating crime. Mind you, offenses like murder, kidnapping, armed robbery and the rest of them are state offenses. The federal government cannot come to Lagos to prosecute anybody who is alleged to have committed any of these offenses. They are state offenses. So you cannot police a society if you do not have the police to do it, if you don't have the security apparatus to do so. So I am saying it's illogical to allow an individual to defend himself or herself and the family. And then you risk the lives of 20 million other people. That's the point I'm making.
What if they interpret it as trying to get state police through the back door?
No, it's not the direct door, not through the back door. You are giving individuals. You are giving individuals.
Don't
so
you see
why
that
mustn't the state government protect everybody?
Don't you see that as a risk?
What risk?
Isn't it too heavy a price to a risk
it's even
to
more
take
risky
for a governor to give arms to people who have not been trained?
No, they are going to be trained. They are going to be trained by the police. They go to the police college to be trained. The law allows that.
Is that part of the recommendations of the neighborhood watch? Is that part of what they are expected to do?
The neighborhood watch is being, if you must know, the head of the neighborhood watch, right, is a retired AIG. Oh yes, in order to ensure that these guys are well trained and well,
that's the biggest fear.
superintended.
That's the biggest fear, because even with the Nigerian police force that's constituted today, there are human rights violations that have been recorded every now and then.
Oh, for sure.
What guarantees do we have that even with the state security apparatus, if I will just go with that word, what guarantees are there that they will not even make it worse?
You see, it's all part of impunity. Anybody who has breached the law will have to be punished, and in any civilized society. So you should have no fear that, if you have state police, there will be violations. Right now there are violations, but just like you have just listened, you just listened to the recommendations of the panel. The panel is saying the police will have to pay all damages, and I know that the damages we're talking about are in the neighborhood of about 25 billion. Courts awarded damages. Damages that have been awarded by the court for violation of human rights by the police. Two, in some cases, the court also ordered the police to apologize for people's rights have been violated. So if you can do that for the Nigerian police force, if you have a state police service whose members violate the rights of Nigeria, they also have to be prosecuted. Yes.
But Mr. Falana, for the police, they are allowed naturally to bear arms by law. But for individuals and this group, so what if they argue that, look, what will be the point of us applying for 10,000 licenses if the president can withdraw or the police can withdraw licenses for these individuals? Does it still serve the purpose?
No, you see, I'm just making the point that you see, ideally, we must have state police, we must have local government police. Here, when I was coming in, I saw security men at the gate. You have your own security. Right? If it becomes necessary, I'm saying, there's no way you can have 20 million people, 10 million people, 5 million people whose lives are exposed. Because the federal government does not have enough members, does not have enough policemen and women to guide the country, to secure the country. And so you must allow state governments that have equal powers to secure the lives and property of those who live in their state, to create the establishment that will do so. Because mind you, Section 14 of the Constitution stipulates that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. If a government cannot do that, cannot secure the people, there is a serious constitutional violation.
Markwe has got some questions for you. Markwe?
Well, Mr. Falana has argued that we can also get this through the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Can he point specifically to how the Act can help in this instance? That's one question. The other will be, for those who are afraid or who are still worried about the what they think will be the perceived excesses of a state police, assuming it were approved, what would you say should be the safeguards to be put in place to ensure that it is not abused by political office holders?
Thank you very much. Number one, I do not subscribe to devolution of powers without democratization of those powers. In other words, if you're going to have state police, and I think that is part of the recommendations of the panel, I spoke with the chair, Mr. Tony Ojuku, the Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission. And we agreed, because I also appeared before that panel, and it is agreed that the police service in every state, or police council, if you are going to have state police, will have to be made up of, constituted by representatives of credible organizations in that state, like the Nigerian Bar Association, Medical Association, Nigerian Union of Journalists, and others. They will nominate their member to go to the council, but the council will be funded by the state government. Otherwise, we may go back to the experience of the First Republic, where you could have abuse by those who want to score, settle scores with their opponent, political opponent. And that is the only way to deal with that. The second one, under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, and I'm happy many of the states are adopting the act, you are supposed to have a monthly inspection of all police stations in the country by a designated magistrate, designated by the chief judges of the state. So when you complain about illegal detention or prolonged detention of citizens or foreigners in Nigeria now, as is being done by the Nigerian Navy currently, it is because the chief judge of the Federal High Court has not designated the judges to visit detention facilities of all federal government agencies. So there are measures to ensure that we do not have abuse of police power. In fact, under that act, we're supposed to have a quarterly compilation and reports of arrests made in the country. And of course, you also have the Administration of Criminal Justice Monitoring Committee to ensure that we do not have people in prison who should not be there. So there are already measures put in place to deal with violations of rights.
All right. We'll have to thank you very much indeed for coming on, Mr. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. We hope that somebody will challenge some of these things. Test the laws. That's what they always say. Test the laws. Thank you for coming on this morning,
Thank you very much.